video shows a suspect allegedly take a Walmart employee hostage, all before being shot and killed by police. The incident happened on December 21st in Richland, Mississippi. Police say the suspect, later identified as 21-year-old Corlunda McGinister, took the employee hostage. Video shows McGinister holding a gun in one hand and grabbing onto the employee with the other. Mississippi police say McGinister claimed she needed help and wanted to speak with a news anchor. Video shows McGinister realize she's being recorded as the person behind the camera calls for the employee to be released.
Hey, why don't you let her go then, please? You're not doing it.
The Mississippi Bureau of Investigation say police shot and killed McGinister at about 5:45 that evening. The Bureau is now conducting an investigation that will later be handed over to the Mississippi Attorney General's office. Reporting for Law and Crime Network, I'm Sierra Gillespie.
What's going on, YouTube? It's Rochelle Tannen. It is December 28th, 2022, about 6:10 on the East Coast p.m. Shout out to all you new subscribers, guys. Thanks for showing me love. I know I've been absent. I did a Darnell Woods Syndrome 3 video, but I never uploaded it. It's super late, but I think I'm going to upload that later tonight. I'm jumping on tonight for this story that happened down there in Mississippi. Shout out to Ole Miss. I just saw some people visiting Philadelphia from Ole Miss or Mississippi. I've never been, but I'd love to go because it's a very historic state. Mississippi has so much history. I'm jumping on tonight because I want to discuss the Walmart incident and discuss a little why I've been a little reclusive the last 2 weeks. Recently, in the recent past, I went and got a tooth done. You guys can't see it, but my face was swollen through Christmas. And I promise this all ties in. My stories usually do. I needed to find a new provider because my old provider was a baby boomer. 70-year-old white guy. He was great with fillings and teeth. He was just K-Bella. Awesome. I messed up and ended up getting dismissed from his office because you can only miss a certain amount of appointments. So that was my fault. So I found a new provider through my insurance, a network provider. And when I went to this website, this latter millennial, she's in her early 30s, pushing 30, because let me preface before I go forward. I look at millennials from 80 to 95 because the late, great Mr. Dan Rather said it. So I don't go by these other numbers from 80 to 95. Mr. Dan Rather said it in the Fire Festival documentary. I believe it was a Netflix version way back in the 80s. Millennials start at 80, in my opinion. So I'm dealing with this office of millennials. I find this woman's website, and there's all these best dentists in Philadelphia for the last 3 years, blah, 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 all these great reviews. Her dentist messed up my filling, and now I have to have it ripped out to have it replaced because I know my gums are infected. I'm 42 years old. I know my teeth. I know my body. And I'm very big on teeth because one of my aunts always said when I was a kid, take care of your teeth. So I do. So, long story short, because it's still going on, when I let this 30-something-year-old first-generationer know that her dentist messed up my mouth, this woman made up a series of lies, and she came off almost like I owed her an apology for messing up my mouth. But like I told these people, I'm an 80s person too. I'm an 80s kid too. I know how to handle you niggas. Which goes into what I'm talking about with down there in Mississippi. In the last few months, this is for late millennials and Gen Zers. In the last few months down there in Mississippi, there's been two big social media viral sensations, if you want to call it a sensation. Those young chicks in that daycare that put on the scream mask and scared those little babies out of their mind because they weren't, quote, behaving. Those young women were between 21 and 24. This young lady, Corlunda McGinister, down there in Mississippi, that held this poor woman at Walmart hostage and committed suicide by cop. And And rightfully so. This isn't a blow at the police. Her too. And these dentists. Let me tell you, you late millennial and Gen Z or something. Y'all ain't kids no fucking more. And I hate to break this to you around Christmas time. And I always set my videos for, these aren't for kids. I'm not doing these videos for kids. So I can say this without hopefully ruining anyone's Christmas. And kids, if you're watching, it's your own fault. Much like Santa Claus, your parents have lied to you. There's no such thing as adulting. You can be a child, you can be an adult, but you can't be both. And for some reason, a lot of 80s and 90s and 2000s people, they're not getting that shit. See, my late father told me when I was about 17 years old, 16, 17, around back in 1996, 97. You can be a kid or an adult, but you can't be both. There is no such thing as adulting. And I bring that up because both of these situations, all three, including mine, but the two situations down there in Mississippi, you don't get to walk into a Walmart, this woman's 21 years old, and throw a fucking tantrum with a gun over anything in Walmart. Anything Walmart sells isn't worth that. You don't get to do that and throw a tantrum and think you're going to get a news anchor and not a bullet in your ass. Because the woman working more than likely has little ones. Or maybe she doesn't. Maybe she's taking care of her grandmother. Maybe she's just a single woman. Who knows? But she has every fucking right to go to Walmart or any job of her choice and not be held hostage by a big fucking baby. Same thing with the daycare workers. You don't get to scare 3-year-olds because when I listen to people in their 20s and 30s these days, even in their 40s, I'm young. I'm oh so young. Okay, daycare workers, you might be young, but those babies you scared with the scream mask, they're real young. And the young lady that did that crap at a daycare, shout out a couple things. Shout out to that daycare for firing all those 3 butt heads. And shout out to them Southern Belles in Mississippi that were the mother of these children. Because I watched that clip many times. And I'm a huge Wes Craven fan. And Ghostface is scary. Because had that been my kid, I'd be in jail. Are you kidding me? I would have went and choked the shit out of that 23-year-old. And went and waited for the cops. See, they handled it really well. Those women, those mothers, they showed a lot of sophistication. And they put their babies first. And I commend them. But me having the temperament I had, if I had a 3-year-old and you're running around talking about because they're misbehaving, you're going to put on a scream mask and arguably psychologically damage my kid? Oh no, I'm going to jail. I'm not that kind of I'm not that kind of woman. But my point is, with my dental issue, and granted, some of them are in their 30s, but some are in their late 20s. Walmart, she was 21, and the woman from the daycare was 23, 24. What the fuck do you niggas think? Y'all ain't no fucking kids. And I understand where you get a lot of this shit, because a lot of my peers, and some people a few years older than me, are your parents. And I understand a lot of your parents are weenies. And I understand a lot of your parents wanted you guys to be included and whatnot. Because believe it or not, for a lot of your parents were fucking bullies back in the 90s. Oh yeah. The same ones that scream fat shaming and body shaming and you shouldn't do this and safe places. Those are the same assholes in the 80s and 90s torturing other kids. Believe it. The real reason they don't want you fat shaming and all that other jive is because now a lot of the women my age, they've been having kids, and the men too, kids forever. They don't look the way they used to. They don't have the life that they thought they would have. So now, in order to keep the heat off them and their lame children, they don't want anyone saying anything anymore. Somewhere along the lines, Walmart and the daycare needed their asses whipped. They shouldn't have got a participation trophy. Because it wasn't, I said this back in 2001. I said it back in the early 2000s altogether. Your kid isn't the apple of everyone's fucking eye. And when it comes to black parenting, Miss Corlunda McGinister, or whatever her name is, It seems like from coast to coast, a lot of black parents in the last 40, 50 years really have lost their mind. Because at 21, throwing tantrums like that did not start at 21. That started way when she was a little girl. And I've known plenty of black parents, quote unquote, that let their kids throw tantrums. They teach them it's all about them. They don't have to listen to teachers. They don't have to listen to old people. They don't have to listen to nobody. Then when these monsters become 20, 25, 30, and no one wants to deal with them, or they don't know how to handle simple social situations, this is what we get. A chick holding a Walmart worker for hostage. And some of this is black and white, but some of this is generational. Because the day job I do, I call around the world as I work in insurance, the insurance field. So 60% of my calls, a good 60% of them are Filipinos and Filipinas. And they're halfway across the world from me. And it's happening over there too. In 2022, I've been at my job 3 years for this company. I have never said so much in 1 year, you need to grow up. How old are you? If this was your mother, would you handle this call this way? There's almost this arrogance, like everyone has to kiss their behind. Like y'all Gen Zers and late millennials, especially Gen Z particularly, y'all really buy that shit. Y'all smarter than everybody else. You're not. You're not smarter than anyone else. You're not well read. You're unempathetic. A lot of you lack humility. Now, mind you, I'm dealing with young people in the Philippines. I've never been to the Philippines, but I feel sorry for the old people over there. You know, when I was watching the black chick down at Walmart, I had posted online, she could have just called the corporate number. Better to be a Karen than death by or suicide by cop. I had a young Filipina tell me, because I asked her age, if the calls are that bad, I'll ask their age. I'll tell them mine. I don't give a shit. And she was about 24, 25. And she would not, and my job is pretty cake. I mean, my job's cake. I kick back at my crib. I don't like saying crib because I'm not a baby. I kick back at my house. I get to watch horror movies most of the day, eat really good food, and make phone calls. So on the other end of the world, their job is pretty easy. So I made this young woman do her job, and this happens all the time on these calls. Do you know this young woman called me a Karen? Now, in the midst of this call, I caught her in a lie, and I can't stand liars. And when I'm dealing with my old patients, because my patients are 70 and better 90% of the time, into the hundreds, you're going to give them their respect while I'm on the phone anyway. And I don't care these aren't my parents or my loved ones. They're someone's parents and loved ones, and they command respect. And the insurance companies I call in the Philippines, these old people are paying you young people's bills. This young heifer gonna call me a Karen because I had the nerve to tell her to do her job. But like I told her, it's better to be a Karen than a fucking liar. Now, the young woman down in Walmart, you should have just called the corporate number. Just get called a Karen. You're not gonna die. Instead of holding this poor lady hostage. You Gen Z niggas need to grow up. See, what you Gen Z niggas don't seem to get, and I get, and your parents aren't telling you, and a lot of people from my generation ain't telling you. Or maybe some people in my generation ain't figured it out. In the last few generations, from the boomers to the Xers to the millennials, the powers that be always give you, as a generation, what you think you want. What do I mean by that? Rochelle Tannen, what are you talking about? I'll tell you what I'm talking about. If you listen to a lot of, particularly black baby boomers, because a lot of them got caught up in crack and cocaine back in the day. If you listen to a lot of them, and I have, up and down the East Coast, and they all sound scripted. They say, oh, well, cocaine was a rich man's drug. This and that and the other. Okay? The powers that be heard y'all's wishes. Y'all wanted the rich man drug. You wanted to be Tony Montana, that bum. Yeah, I call Tony Montana a bum. Love the movie Scarface, but if you watch that movie, his mother calls him a bum too, and for good reason. But I digress. You guys just had to have the rich man's drug, so they gave it to you in one form or another. Now, Gen Xers, a lot of them, the ones in the late 60s, early 70s, a lot of them wanted to be rich. A lot of them wanted to be the Mac. They wanted to be all that. The powers that be gave it to you, all rolled up into the heroin and crack eras of the 90s and the 80s and the late 70s. You got it. Now, millennials, you 80s kids, and you latter 70s, you late Gen Xers, but certainly 80s kids, all of y'all want to be Michael Jackson or Madonna or LL Cool J. You want to be famous. The powers that be gave it to you. It's called social media. Some of my peers, you guys care more about your Instagram pages than what the fuck's going on with your kids. You care more about Facebook than what's going on with your old people in your community because you're lame. Now, Gen Z, getting to you. See, you guys think you want everything inclusive. You think you want this group thought. You think you want to be able to control what others think, but you better understand you're going to get what you ask for, and it's not going to be what you think, because everything should be included. Everything should be one big group thought. And Gen Z, let me tell you this, you got another problem coming your way, and late millennials too. Y'all don't seem to get, there's not one, but soon to be 2 generations under y'all. Y'all are, every day that goes by, y'all getting older. And y'all run around here holding people hostage, putting on screen masks, scaring the life out of little kids, and seem to think if you say sorry, that makes it all good. It ain't all good. So, just like with my dentist, and granted, they're early 90 millennials, but them too, because a lot of them are fucking brats. They don't. You mess up my mouth and expect me to apologize to you? Y'all need to grow up. And listen, condolences to that woman in Mississippi's family and all that jazz, but she was asking for that shit. You don't get to go hold someone at gunpoint over, again, anything that Walmart sells. Walmart's an affordable store. We're not talking about, it's not like you bought luggage from Louis Vuitton and something was wrong. And even if you did, pulling a gun on any worker there would be asinine. But certainly Walmart, I mean, come on, dude. They have a corporate number, dude. If you would have played that right, see, anything like that, I love it, because usually I'll call a corporate number and it works to my benefit. Because corporations like to keep that friendly neighborhood face for the public, so they'll bend over backwards for you for most things, especially if it's their fault. There's nothing logical enough reason to pull a gun on someone just trying to make a living and feed their family. No more than there's any lot more logical to put on a mask because 3-year-olds aren't behaving. But with later millennials, Gen Z, logical, analytical thinking isn't you all's strong point. That's why a lot of social media thinks for you. That's why a lot of the celebrities think for you. And I can't blame you too much, because again, a lot of your parents are my peers, and they're big failures. And they don't mind letting you guys go by the wayside, because a lot of people my age want to be your age. But I don't. See, I don't want to be in my 20s ever again. I don't want to be in my teens again. The Lord brought me through my 30s. What I want to be is established at a certain point in time when it all goes down, because it's coming. It's coming, Gen Z. It's coming, later millennials. And y'all can run around here throwing your tantrums, talking about I'm young, I'm young, I'm young. Even some of these late 80s niggas do that shit. I'm so young, I'm young, I'm young. So if y'all young, what the fuck are the teenagers? These teenagers that think they cool, the latter Gen Zers. Oh, let me say, this ain't for you latter Gen Zers. If you still in your teens, I am not talking about you guys. Not at all. Because y'all should stay kids as long as you can. But 18 and 21 and better, you ain't no kid no more. Adulting is not a real word. You can be an adult or a kid, but you can't be both. I hope that lady in Mississippi is doing all right. She says she's not quitting Walmart. Shout out to her, because I love going to my Walmart. And on that note, guys, I'm going to end this video. You guys have a really good night. Bye.